Okay, that's denial of service on a machine. Now let's look at denial of service on a network. Similar themes here. You can mount denial of service by exhausting resources, but now the resources you can exhaust on the network are a little bit different. The kinds of attacks that you could mount would be, you could send lots and lots of packets, just flood a network link with tons and tons of packets. Network link has a maximum capacity and maximum bandwidth, and if you can send enough packets to use up all that bandwidth, there's kind of nothing left for anything else. DDoS says, same idea, flooding, but now instead of trying me as an attacker sending all of his flooding packets from my own machine, I'm going to recruit 1,000 machines spread across the internet, and each one of them is going to send lots of packets. And that way I can get more leverage. I can send a larger total amount of these denial of service packets. Another approach to exhausting resources is not to send all of the traffic from my own machine, but to use a technique called amplification. So I go find some patsy, someone who is innocent and naive, who will send traffic to the target for me. And a patsy alone doesn't really amplify my ability. Maybe it allows me to cloak who I am. I can send some packet to the patsy, and the patsy will send a packet to the target. Then my identity is cloaked, but it doesn't really give me any extra power. In amplification, we look for a patsy that has the additional property that I can send a small packet to the patsy, and the patsy will send a huge packet to the target. And if I can do that, then I can amplify my resources. I send a megabyte of traffic to the patsies, and they send 100 megabytes to the target. And now I've got leverage. Okay, so that's the idea of amplification. All right, so how could you mount a denial of service against a target's internet access? One approach is to just send a zillion packets and use up all the bandwidth on their internet link. And the reason this works is because there is no isolation between traffic of different users. All the different users are sharing this common network link. Could I do amplification with a big DNS query? Yes, and I'll come back to that. Okay, so what resources does an attacker need to successfully flood a network link? Basically, the attacker needs to send as much data as the capacity of that link. Whatever is the bottleneck link for the target, the bottleneck that's limiting the target's connection to the internet, I need to send enough traffic through that link. So to do that, I need to, if that link is a 10 megabit per second link, I need to be able to send 10 megabits per second of traffic. A reasonable way to do that would be to send very large packets as fast as I can. And if I can send more than 10 megabits per second of data, then I can use up all the capacity of that link. An alternative approach would be, instead of trying to overwhelm the bandwidth, I'm going to try to overwhelm the router. And some routers are limited in the number of packets per second they can handle. Separate from the bandwidth limit, might only be able to handle 10,000 packets a second, because maybe it takes them at least 1/10 of a millisecond per packet, regardless of how big or small it is. So then, in that case, what an attacker might be able to mount is to send 10,000 packets per second. It doesn't matter what the total bandwidth is. So they could be just absolute minimum size packets to maximize the number of packets.